All right. Ready for a new beautiful episode of Get on Code. All right, welcome to Get on Code, the Fly Guy Show, which is a series of melanated conversations focused on empowerment, health, wealth, and knowledge of self.
People think in binary choices because they are conditioned to.
And on the wall was a picture of a wolf and a lion. I think the wolf was the Democratic Party, the lion was the Republicans.
But the drug trade and all these illegal stuff that people do, that's still economics. It's just that they couldn't do it in a traditional system.
We're talking about melanated wealth.
So we can build wealth, but we just, for some reason, don't seem to be able to transfer it.
You had a great experience. Fine. That means nothing.
What were you told as a child about education? You had to be how many times better?
Every impression without an expression becomes depression.
All right, welcome to Get on Code, the Fly Guy Show, where the code is empowerment. I'm Seko Varner. I got my good brother, Minister Zumbi. What's up, bro?
Peace.
All right. So look, tonight we have a star-studded panel that's going to discuss making, building, and furthering our economic empowerment. So when I said star-studded, that's why I have the nice background of the stars. I want to start with bringing on the queen. All hail the queen. It's not Latifah. It's Queen Tiniki Riddick from myEcon. How you doing, Queen?
Hello, Kings. Thank you for having me.
Ashe. She has on the Credit Hero t-shirt. She's a credit hero. So if you need to get your credit fixed, improved, she's the queen to talk to. All right. On the line, we have the good brother Khaden Nurse from Urban Finance. Now, Khaden, if you remember, he and his lovely wife paid off $120,000 of debt in 2 years. Whew. That's incredible. That's incredible. And last but not least, actually, the gentleman that I'm actually kind of positioning myself to be like right now. You know what I'm saying? The person I'm trying to walk in this dude's shoes. Unfortunately, he's a man of Phi Beta Sigma. I'm a man of Omega Psi Phi. But I love him nonetheless. I follow him nonetheless. The good brother Donahue Baker. How you doing, Don?
Doing well. Thanks for having me here, and really honored to be with the other guests as well.
Now, Donahue Baker is the founder of myEcon, which is one of the new fintech banks doing big things. I do private money lending for real estate investors, and I lend for some, I lend from their bank. I'm telling you, myEcon.com and bankmoneyave.com. I'll make sure we put those up there. But myEcon.com, man, he's doing phenomenal stuff. He changes thousandaires into millionaires. So you definitely want to get on that train. Tonight, we're going to have a panel discussion on building and furthering our economic empowerment. So when we say economic empowerment, let's start with the king of economic empowerment, who's shown people how to do it over and over and over, has a complete system. Donahue Baker, when we talk about building and furthering economic empowerment, what does economic empowerment mean to you? We want to have a operational definition.
Yeah, to me, economic empowerment really means being in control of your own destiny, being a creator, creating a system that really allows you to build the life that you want to do economically, right? And that's really what we try to do at Money Avenue. But, we built the whole system around that, and I'm sure we're going to get more into that. But really, it's being in control of your own destiny, being able to control what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, absolutely. Brother Khaden, man. How would you define, and I know you're going to reach back to Brother Amos Wilson. How would you define?
I love the Black scholars, Amos Wilson, Jawanta Kunjufu, Dr. Claude Anderson. I love them all. And if anyone that I go after is those guys. But I'm going to quote someone or talk about someone that's a little more controversial in the Black community that has made it into the billionaire category, and that is Kanye West. And one of the things Kanye West talked about the last time he was on The Breakfast Club was the idea of freedom, economic power being freedom in the Black community. And so right now, the Black community isn't free because they're dependent on everyone for just about every one of their needs. And so for me, economic empowerment is the freedom to be able to do what you need to do when you want to do it. And so that's what I'm looking forward. A community that is totally self-sufficient, not that it has to be, but that it is.
Wow. Okay. Hey, Minister Zumbi, we're going to let the woman have the last word. So, Minister Zumbi, when we talk about economic empowerment, give us a operational definition, brother.
I would look at it as freedom of choice. And what I mean by freedom of choice is freedom from certain things as well as freedom to do certain things. It also includes your ability to produce, your ability to employ your own people, and just having the choices to live life on your own terms. And I think particularly for African men, that's one thing that we've been in earnest in having is the freedom to live life on our own terms.
Okay. And hey, letting the queen have the last word. Sister Riddick, economic empowerment, what does that mean to you? How do you define that?
Economic empowerment for me is just making the right choices to build our economy. The company I'm with is myEcon, and it stands for My Economy, taking control of your economy, making the right decisions, holding accountability to what you do so that you're building economic empowerment for generations.
Okay, and I think that's what we're all kind of focused on. How do we really push this baby of economic empowerment to the masses of us? How can we really make sure that the Black community in particular and the entire American economy on a larger sense can really grasp this concept of economic empowerment? And what's kind of interesting is each one of you had a slightly different approach to it. So are there differences? Are these different branches of the same tree? Anyone can jump in. What do you think? How do we get this mass marketed? How do we get everybody to fall in love and be interested in becoming empowered economically?
Yeah, to me, so I think there's something really special going on in social media or just our culture. And it's the realization that people are creating wealth systematically now, like never before. And one of the things that I'm really, really super excited about is understanding that first, it all starts with your own self, making the choice to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish. And then branching it out to your family and your team. And eventually it's like a ripple effect that kind of goes from, like just a shot to just trickles out to everyone. So I think that that's what's happening right now. I think that more than ever, we're seeing the launch of thought leaders. We're seeing people that are coming into our community, giving us real knowledge about real estate, knowledge about business, knowledge about specific topics. Maybe the internet is making that much more accessible too. But I'm seeing it on a really, really large scale, and I'm excited about that because I'm in this circle of people that are creating millions and millions of dollars in a short period of time.
What says you, Khaden?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, and this may seem counterproductive to building a Black economic base or power structure, but I don't think everyone is going to come along for the ride. I think the Black community has spent a lot of time focusing on individuals that do not necessarily treasure the desire to be economically empowered. And I think that there are millions and millions of Black people that has that fire and hunger that A. Donahue was talking about, that is thirsty about this economic empowerment and what that may mean for my family and each succeeding generation. And I do think those individuals, those millions of Black people should be the focus. And we are a community. One of my favorite proverbs is the Black proverb, the African proverb that say, if you want to go far, go together. And if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that is a principle that I live my life on. And that's the principle I believe that most Black people, a lot of Black people in our community, live our lives on. But unfortunately, I do think when we try to drag along people who do not want to take the ride as well, then we all suffer. And sometimes it makes more sense to get there and then from that position, try to help out. One of the analogies, another analogy I always love is the analogy of putting your mask on first when you're in the airplane and then putting it on those other people. And Black people, we're so caring people spiritually. I think God has placed us, given us something that makes us love everyone. And we're one of the communities that tries to put the mask on everyone else before even trying to put it on ourselves. And so I think in this season, I've been seeing Black people with more of the mentality, okay, I'm going to try to make sure my community and even my household is set, and then use that information, that knowledge base that I've acquired and the things that I've achieved to put it on others. And like I said, I love a lot of the founding thought leaders for the Black community on this subject, but I think that was one of the shortcomings of past generations. And we have benefited significantly from it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it, but it's that desire to help others before we even help ourselves.
That's intriguing. Do you see the same problem, Tiniki? Do you see the same problem, Minister?
Absolutely. For me, is you have to have that mindset. I often run into people who they say they want it, but if the mindset is not there, it's like trying to pull a horse to a well to drink and he's not thirsty. You have to have that mindset that you want to be financially free. And he hit it right on the nose. I see sometimes often trying to convince people the importance of good credit, but they're not willing to put in the work to get it there. And you have to have that mindset that I'm going to do what is needed on my part instead of depending on other people to do it for you.
I take a quote from Mr. Farrakhan where he says, time dictates agenda. So if we know what time it is, what should our agenda be? And I think a lot of times we misinterpret what time it is and we choose an agenda that's not productive or to our better benefit. So what COVID has done, it's accelerated certain things that were coming eventually, but it's also a reset button because now it forces everyone into an entrepreneurial state of mind. That whole thing about that 40-40 plan, it's done. Okay. Walmart has shown you that they've already got prototype stores that are now putting cashiers out of work. But in a crisis, there's always opportunity for what is emerging. So I think with this new generation of thought leaders and other economic soldiers, we're beginning to look at the opportunities and we're beginning to show people that, and it's what the Honorable Marcus Garvey says, if you are totally dependent on other races for your provision, you will eventually die.
I don't know how to follow that up.
Yeah.
Yo, Don, what do you think, man? Are we too focused on helping others?
No, you're definitely not too focused on helping others. I mean, to me, that's the definition of creating wealth. It's the more people that you can help, it's actually the more wealth you're creating, not only for yourself, but for your community as well. So I don't think that we're too focused on helping others. I just think that, like the brother said earlier, it's going to be a trickle down effect where the people that have the right mindset, they're the ones that's going to be leading. Like we all need early adopters. We all need leaders, right? So those leaders, the people that have that wealth building mindset are going to lead. And eventually, at some point in time, it will trickle down to the masses. It's important for us because we're still seeing a lot of businesses be the first Black this, the first Black that. It's going to take some time, and it's been a long road already, but I eventually think we all will get there. Like, maybe I'm a super optimist, but I really think that over the course of time that we're moving in a direction where even our white counterparts are realizing that this country cannot continue to exist with the inequalities that are out there. So what we're seeing is millions, billions of dollars actually being pumped in to certain industries that have been not inclusive of us in the past, starting to get a lot of venture funding that's coming in. We know that one of the things that we live in a time right now where we live in a point in time with Silicon Valley is one of the biggest wealth creators in the history of the planet, in the history of mankind. If Silicon Valley was a country all to itself, it would be the fourth highest per capita city in wealth ratio in the world, right? So what we're seeing is that this tremendous amount of wealth that's being created, we've missed it. A lot of that, the 90%, actually 98% of the founders that have been funded through Silicon Valley VC firms are either white or Asian, 98%. So very small percentage in the past have been getting funded. And if you're Black or another minority, women now are starting to get a lot of opportunity. But I just think that there's a change that it's taken place since George Floyd. Like I said, I could be overly optimistic, but I'm starting to get phone calls from VCs, from money, from people that they want to make a difference. They realize that we can no longer exist. This society can no longer exist with these inequalities.
So I'll say two things. So I really like that, Donahue Baker. And one of the things I've always said as a Black man in this game, we all playing a different role in this sport. You know, I'll be honest and say I'm not a huge sport person, but I know that there are 5 different positions in a basketball game, and each one is needed. The power forward, the small forward. Each team needs a position. Each person needs to play their position for the team to operate effectively. And I think one of the things that the Black community, another thing, and this is certainly, I know our focus is economic empowerment, but one of the things Black community has did, I would say, not too well, is attack others with different agendas within the community. And so there are power brokers in the Black communities that are working with $1 million hedge funds companies, $1 million those companies in San Francisco and the tech giants. And those Black people, to be quite frank about it, has to play the game a certain way in order to make sure that revenue stream continues to come in. And I think will be extremely important, because in some respects, like the Michael Jordans, like some of our those business leaders, those billionaires, they're going to have to play in that arena. And there's a certain way they're going to have to conduct themselves to play in that arena. But we know that who controls the money controls the agenda. And so there are going to have to be those Black people that may not be connected to those big money pots, but maybe small business owners that can speak more frankly. Because once you're a part of a system, it's real hard to completely rebel against that system, even though it may not be beneficial completely to your community. I'll say something that I hope no one that is a part of necessarily my direct system may see. I'm an AME preacher. I'm an associate pastor of a church. There are certain things that I cannot do that to buck the entire system, because it can affect my livelihood and my family livelihood, that I would not do because I'm a part of that system. But that doesn't mean that I don't have the Black economic empowerment as one of my main desires. And it's also to recognize that different members of our community are a part of different systems, may have the same agenda, but can't necessarily express it as boldly because they have to operate at a different level. And so that's one of the things I say. I never discredit any Black person that I see is trying to do good for the community just because they aren't saying things the way that I say it, because we're all playing at different levels and we're all playing in different circles.
Wow, you said some things that really just made. Okay, go ahead, Don.
No, I like I said, I 100% agree with what the brother said, that we all have different roles to play. And I like that analogy that he really put together. And it's the same thing if you want to go back in history. I had certain mentors, people that did it before, that have done the things that I'm looking to do, right? So one of them was Reginald Lewis, right? I don't know if everyone is familiar with the book, Why Do the White Guys Have All the Fun, right? It was a book I read in high school. I read this book in high school, and it really changed my perspective. Another book that I read is The Spook That Sat by the Door. The thing about it is, if we didn't have those people like Reginald Lewis, if we didn't have those people like R. Donahue Peoples, who was a black real estate billionaire, or these other pioneers that have come before, we wouldn't know how to move. We wouldn't know how to maneuver, right? And there we go right there. There's the book right there, right? So the point is that these were the first of our community. You talk about Reginald Lewis, it was a brother that was cool, that had swag, that we could relate to, that, had different things. Even though, he did marry outside of his race, but, you love who you love, But the point is, he was the first. They came from our community, came from humble beginnings, and we can relate to. And that is inspiration. And I think that more and more opportunities like that are going to be presenting themselves, and people will be able to see now. You're able to reach out to people with the internet, with social media. I mean, I've reached out to a number of millionaires, black millionaires, to the point right now where within the next 5 years, you're going to see the first teenage billionaire. He may probably, more than likely, he'll be white, but it will be a teenage billionaire that's coming up right now. It's my prediction. This is what I believe. And the point is that we have to, as a people, we have to tap into this wealth creation. How do we create companies? How do we get things? There's a number of startups that I want to highlight, just to kind of put an exclamation point on the series and what we're trying to do. We're trying to give light funding to creators, to entrepreneurs, people that want to just go from idea stage to having a viable business. And all of those opportunities are centered around businesses that can scale. The advent of the internet is making it possible where if you have an audience or if you have a product and you can connect it to your audience, there are vast amounts of funding and wealth that can come your way. And in the black community, I don't care what nobody says. Nobody is more creative, more entrepreneurial than the black community. So I know that the creators that are out there, it's just a matter of time before the knowledge gets to them and that they're going to be able to tap in. And that's really what I want to be, is the conduit for my community and the creators that exist within my community, to show people how to build wealth, show people how to start businesses, show people how to leverage not only their personal credit, but really their business credit to get access to capital and do things that are really, really impactful for their community. That's really my life mission. And if I can, I'm really passionate about that. So I just wanted to add on to that.
Well, you definitely did. I think it's interesting that you talked about making millionaires and making business people in the same sentence. It's as if business and millionairehood are connected. But I just wanted to tap into something else you talked about. You brought up the spook who sat by the door. Don, you're going to have to let us know, because I know Minister Zumbi's going to go there. How could you connect the spook who sat by the door to economic empowerment? That maybe there's no connection, but you did. I don't see it. Actually, I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's just say that the country, right? The country that we've existed in, there's a systemic problem that has been ingrained, that has blocked us. We know about what happened with redlining. We know that we've been kept away from economic opportunities. The fact that there's ghettos that exist, that they're designed. The ghettos are designed, right? The places that we call ghettos, it's a reason why whatever city metropolis that you live in. It's a reason why most of the Black people are in this area. It's a reason why the projects are the projects, because someone thought of systematically a way to keep us there, a way to design to build us so that we can get there and make sure that we have really limited economic opportunity. So when you talk about our government and the things that our government has done in the past, it's been proven, right? We don't want to, like, I don't want to live in the conspiracy world, right? I don't want to talk about all these things, but one of the great things about our government is all of the things that happened in the past are now being published as verified documents. So before it was a conspiracy theory, but now it's being proven. So it's no longer a conspiracy theory. It's a reason why a lot of people in our community don't trust the vaccine, because they know about the Tuskegee experiment. They know about things that our government has done to limit us and keep us back, right? We know about this. So, I just, that's the connection. I don't like to dwell in a lot of the conspiracy stuff, because each one of us here controls our own destiny. And what's for me is me, and nobody is going to stop what is mine, right? So I don't want to say I'm blaming it on this man or I'm blaming it on that man. That's a defeatist mentality. What's yours is yours. You got to go get it. When your opportunity is out there, you got to find out who got your opportunity, who has the resources to take you to the next level, right? And I'm tired of people in our community that adopt that mentality and say, oh, I couldn't do this, or I couldn't get this job because such and such ain't helped me, or this person. No, what's yours is yours. You got to go get it. Simple as that. Go get it. Get your money, get your opportunity, connect to your audience, find your voice, find your people. Whatever you need to do, go do it. You control it, right? So that's why I don't want to really delve into conspiracy stuff, because it leads to a conversation that is very defeatist. It leads to a mentality to say, there's the man out there trying to hold me down with his foot on his neck. We know that. It's been like that. But now it's up to us to really take control of our own destiny.
Would you agree, Tiniki?
Absolutely. If it's up to me, it's meant to be. And I love that he said that, because I said it goes to mindset and accountability. And we're no longer in chains. We're no longer in caves. A lot of people might be in chains in their mindset. But again, we have every opportunity. You can go on YouTube. You can Google. Like he said, if you have that desire to have something, it's up to you to do the research and get it done. I absolutely agree with Adon. It's for saying that.
All right. And now her shirt says credit her.
One thing I would say to what Don was saying, that I was actually telling my mom today, and something that I believe firmly, there's no excuse for you as an individual. And so as an individual, your success is completely in your hands. And that's the only mentality to have, because that's the mentality that says, no matter what obstacle is presented before me, I'm going to overcome it. But at the same time, while I always say there is absolutely no excuse as an individual, and I live my life like that, that's to also at the same time recognize the systemic issue as play that affects Black people as a corporate group. And I think that's the type of mentality we need to have, and understanding that we need to have, in terms of that there are systemic issues at play that keeps our group at the lowest level of the playing field. But at the same time, on the individual level, don't let anything stop you from getting what's yours. And I think that same double-minded nature that Black people must walk with an understanding of our history and what is currently, but still with that same mentality of nothing is going to stop me from getting mine.
Minister Zumbi, haven't heard from you in a moment. What'd you think about connection of the spook who sat by the door and this empowerment walk that we're all on? I wanted to hear your point on that. Go ahead.
I'm going to take the movie adaptation of the book. The one thing that you get out of the movie is the fact that here is a man who walked in with a plan and a blueprint for what he wanted to get done. So phase one, you basically turn the CIA into a classroom. Okay. Phase two, you go back into your hood, and now you convert gang members into urban guerrillas, because it's cool to have this, individual empowerment, but everything is done in teams. And Dan Freeman understood that no matter what happens to me, this thing has to be bigger than me in order for it to continue. Now, how does that tie into economic empowerment? I think we have a nasty habit of being one generation or one trick ponies, where we don't create blueprints that will outlive us. I think the two men that are closest to have done that has been the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to where they no longer physically walk with us, but they gave us blueprints for us to follow. Get Message to the Black Man. You can read Honorable Elijah Muhammad's economic blueprint. If you get the Honorable Marcus Garvey's Course of African Philosophy, you can see where Mr. Garvey taught you to save 20% of your income and use it in an investment at a later date. So these are just simple things. So I think we have to get into the habit of looking beyond ourselves and beyond the burdens of the day. Like in my book, I wrote a letter to the unborn African. I said, by the time you read this, I will be an elder or an ancestor. The one thing that I never want to be, and this is coming from Dr. Miles Monroe, don't be a generational thief. In other words, the knowledge that we're kicking around right here, how are we packaging it and leaving it for that next generation? Because it's criminal to sit up here and produce generation after generation. You give them no tools, you give them no weapons, and they wind up having to beg for provision from somebody else's kingdom or somebody else's empire.
Okay, so the great thing about this panel, this star-studded panel that we have, is Khaden has a plan. I think it's packaged. Don has an institution. It actually is brick and mortar and cyber. Tiniki works with a system. So I think we're at that precipice where we can pass down but let's ask the question. So Khaden, can you pass down to future generations what you've achieved?
So one of the things, Seko, that I think was super important and why I started my YouTube channel, and I'll just start there. The purpose of the YouTube channel was to capture how I was building economics as an individual or family. And so, documented is how I was able to pay off my $120,000 in 2 years. Documented is how I was able to invest to make my first $100,000. Documented is how I made my first $250,000 through the stock market. And so everything that I've done, I've documented it. And I've always said the purpose of this channel has originally been just for my family at first, because they may not at the time that I wanted to give them the information have been always receptive to it. But over time, just about all of my family members have come around to this idea of economic empowerment, and that we can build a massive wealth both together and separately over the next 10, 20, and 30 years, to the point where now we have a family bank where every month people invest money into that family bank, and that is invested into the stock market and grow to a greater degree from our investments than we put into it. And so that's the beauty of this thing of making sure, and Minister Zumbi, that's pretty much what it's about, making sure what information we have been able to acquire now is not lost on the next generation. And that's what I believe and strive to do.
Hey, Don, are you doing that with money? Well, I know I'm asking a rhetorical question of sorts, but how is Money Ave leaving a legacy?
We set up this. Muted. Yeah, I think you muted me. Could you hear me now?
Good to go, bro.
Yeah, I think it said the host muted. So, but I heard your question. The way that I've done it for my family is this, and I think I told you before, I think that the biggest thing that we can do is to give our children a head start, right? If you want to how I did it for my family is this. I purchased a 6-unit apartment building in Newark, New Jersey, in a trust for my 3-year-old, 2 at the time, he's 3 now, for my son. His name is Legacy, right? And basically, when Legacy turns 18, Legacy is going to have a 6-unit apartment building that's fully paid for, that can do 2 things, 2 major things for him. Pay for his college education if he chooses to go to college in full, right? Because that's the equity that's going to be in that building. It's going to be available to him. If he chooses to go to college, he'll have a fully paid college education. But even more importantly than that, that building is going to provide him a monthly income 20 years down the road from now. I'm sure, inflation will definitely have its way, and rents will be higher as well as property values will be higher. But it's going to give him a monthly income where he's not dependent on taking a job that is outside his God-given talents and God-given abilities. He can truly pursue and follow a path that he wants to follow. That is economic. That's my definition of economic empowerment, right? So when you ask the question about what Money Ave does, well, we focus on 2 things. Generational wealth is really the key. And it's really only 2 ways you can do it. Generational wealth is achieved through real estate, focusing on income producing assets, or starting a business. Now, nothing against the stock market. You can make money in the stock market and all that. But when you're talking about generational wealth, passing it on, everyone can do it. It's about building and going one of those 2 ways and building something in your lifetime, making sacrifices in your lifetime that's going to benefit the next generation. And that's the principles upon which I founded our digital bank. And we want everyone to have that opportunity, and we show you ways in which you can do it. Whether it's life insurance, whether it's real estate, whether it's we give people $50,000 in business credit so that they can prove the concept of a business, because we want to foster entrepreneurship. We want to create creators. We want people to take chances, because businesses are tools in which you can create to build the life you want to build and have true economic empowerment and be in control of your destiny. So that's the answer to your question specifically.
Wow. And what's crazy, and it's not really crazy, is we asked about leaving a legacy, and your child's name is
that's
Legacy.
Legacy. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we live for. That's what we live for.
Yeah. That's what we live for. True. Now, one thing about leaving a legacy, Minister Zumbi, who's a minister in metaphysics, and we have Minister Khaden, Reverend Khaden, who's a AME minister. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I'm going to ask the 2 of you in particular, what do the holy books say that we're not reading that could give us that legacy like Don is doing with his child?
I'll let the Reverend go.
I think there's a ton of scripture that I personally love and gravitate to. And one is a wise person leaves a inheritance for their children. And that's one thing that I've read in the scriptures and have internalized even before I had my son. Before I had my son, I was planning to make sure that I left a legacy for him, and that he, even through my legacy, through a trust, will be able to leave a legacy for his children. The second thing I think that is so important to keep in our hearts and mind, and I think it's similar to your 10 biblical commandments, I'll put it like that, is the idea of the borrower is slave to the lender, And so that idea of getting out of debt to other people, except the only type of debt I would say that will be okay is one that provides you an income. Any other debt is just a way to destroy the legacy that you leave to your children. And so, unfortunately, sometimes in our community, what we leave isn't a legacy, but we leave debt that trickles down and passed down through the fact that we didn't have insurance, we didn't have any investments, we didn't have any properties, and then there's a bill that we may have to go on GoFundMe to pay funeral expenses. And so I think the good book is very intentional of directing people on how to spend their finances. But those are the part that a lot of people feel compelled not to talk about for whatever reason.
Well, I'm going to take a page from our ancestor, Reverend Ike. Okay. And he talks about creating money at 3 levels, where the first level you begin with is the ether, because he says everything begins with an idea. And then you bring it from the ether into the psychic or the mental. And then from the mental, you bring it into the material. So we believe that everything is created from the inside out. Many of us have already read Wallace Wattles' books, The Science of Getting Rich. And he talks about that same process, about taking that, I guess you would call it spiritual clay, and then forming it from the ether to the psychic into the material. We also want to talk about, there's something Honorable Elijah Muhammad always said, words make people. Okay. I got a friend of mine who's an herbalist in LA, and he talks about, don't be a hustler, be a creator. And I'll tell you why. Like, everybody has basically made hustler, whether it's a noun or a verb or an adjective. So I looked up what hustler is. 2 of its definitions is 1, a female prostitute, and number 2, a male prostitute with male clientele. So we have to be mindful of how we speak things into existence and how we, for lack of a better term, label ourselves. Now, in the Abrahamic traditions, you know, where we talk about being industrious, being productive, I think what's missing, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with this, is that my belief is that God built man to be entrepreneurial and self-employed. I think that's his nature. I think we've been sold a bag of goods with the Industrial Revolution, where we've been locked into this 40-40 plan. And now with the advent of artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics, I think we're being reset back to what we have intended to be by nature. One of the things I say in my core beliefs in my book is, we believe the universe built man to be entrepreneurial and self-employed. And especially, another thing I don't talk about in my book, but I say, I don't believe in giving children allowances, because you create that employee mentality when you create that mentality through an allowance. I say, teach them to be creators. No matter what shape the economy is in, they should always be able to create opportunities for themselves without having to rely on a job.
Interesting. All right, so Tiniki, we've gone over this before, and I like that her shirt is saying credit her again. I want to make sure she gets credit for this. You also teach not to give children allowances.
Right. As a business owner, and I agree with the minister, we should all be entrepreneurs. And that way, as a business owner, giving your children, paying them as an employee versus giving them an allowance will help you not only with a major tax deduction, but again, it empowers the child to have that employer mindset that they're building their own business. So paying your child as an employee and not giving them allowances, but a pay out of or payroll, putting them on payroll will put you in a better position to get benefits from the government as a business owner.
Okay. So Don, is Legacy on payroll or is he on allowance?
Legacy is on payroll. He is a employee of Baker Capital Partners, and he's a deduction, and what I pay him actually goes into a separate fund that I am building for him as well. But great advice, and I think more people should do that, and I'm totally signed on with not giving your kids an allowance, but paying them to understand how they can understand how entrepreneurship works, and they can understand that system and be creators, right? Because once we teach them that they're creators, being a creator solves so many different problems, right? And if we understand that, we can eradicate poverty. We can eradicate economic injustice. All of this comes from being a creator. Whatever problem that needs to be solved, if you're a creator and creative enough, you can solve those problems. And that's really the mindset and the thinking that I try to share in our community, that show me a problem and I'll show you a great business opportunity.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Minister Zumbi, in your great book, The Gospel of Afronomics Theology, you have what I call the 10 Black Commandments. They're listed as the 10 Goat Commandments. We have just about 15 minutes left. So what I'd like you to do, man, is to drop each one by one. And I want to get a response from Tiniki, from A. Donahue Baker, and from Reverend Khaden on that particular commandment. And I'm actually going to fall back a little bit and just allow that to happen. So if you'll give a commandment, I'd like to get Tiniki's, Donahue's, and Khaden's response on that. All right?
Okay. Number 1, thou shalt decide and commit to becoming rich and wealthy.
I think that is the ultimate step 1, right? I would go a little deeper on that commandment. I would say that, we have to make a commitment to become millionaires, right? Be it specific. And I would say that any amount of wealth, if you're interested in passing wealth on, generational wealth, the number that I use is $1.4 million, that we need to cross that threshold. Why $1.4 million? Well, if you have $1 million today, chances are, if you're 30 years old, you probably will have to continue to work at some point in your lifetime. We just passed the $2 trillion stimulus this year. Another $2 trillion stimulus was passed last year. All of that is going to have inflationary effects. What do I mean by that?
Right.
Well, that whatever assets or whatever homes that you have, the prices over time will increase, right? So if you're in a position where you are paying someone, you are paying a loan, or you're paying anything that is debt that you're paying down, eventually your dollars is an inflationary effect are going to be devalued. So you're going to be giving less dollars to your debt. You're going to be paying less dollars to your debt. So in a way, it's better to have debt in this environment. It's better to have debt if that debt is allowing you to, number 1, build wealth, right? And that's one of the key mechanisms in which we turn thousandaires into millionaires. It's using the debt to buy your home. For example, my parents had a home. They bought a home that I grew up in for $40,000 in 1970, right? This home today is worth over $700,000. But what happened is, in a 30-year, their mortgage payment was like $400 a month. Inflation over time, by the time 20 years got into it, that mortgage payment was so low, it was almost like they didn't have a mortgage. The point I'm trying to make is understand the value of assets. Coming up with specific goals, specific numbers to target is only going to help you to achieve them. And what you measure is what you can truly affect change in. So I just would add on to that. I know it's a little long-winded, Minister, but I think I just can't agree with you more that is the first step in anything you do in life. It's having the mindset.
You can go, Queen Tiniki.
Absolutely, the mindset. And also, I like to say that children make mistakes, adults make decisions. And as an adult, we have to make a decision that our bank accounts represent the decisions that we make financially about our life. So with that being said, make the decision and have the mindset that nothing is going to stop you. Nothing is going to stop you or get in your way. We teach you financial strategies. We give you a blueprint. And those 5 financial strategies anyone can do. Minimize your taxes. The first thing that's killing most people financially is they're overpaying the taxes. Stop giving the government too much of your money. Minimize your taxes, eliminate your debt, increase your credit score, build business income, and then investment education. So we provide people with a blueprint where they can follow the blueprint. Anyone can do it, and just make those decisions and have that mindset that I can achieve generational wealth.
Beautiful. thou shalt decide and commit to becoming wealthy. And immediately when you said that, it made me think about the proverb that says, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and he that loves it, he or she that loves it, eateth the fruit thereof. And essentially saying whatever you speak into existence, that is what will return to you. And I love what A. Donahue said about being specific. My wife and I, our goal is to become deca millionaires. That means to have at least $10 million by the time we retire. One of the things, and we want that money to leave a legacy to our children and to be able to give freely. Because that's the thing that we're most passionate about, helping others. The money is not necessary for us, but it's because we know that we are in a position that we can change our community, especially those that are closest to us. And so I love that commandment because it tells you to take authority for your life.
You know what's interesting, Rev? That's one of my principles in my book where I said we want African people to achieve a minimum net worth of $10 million. So I thought that was very interesting that you brought up that particular number. Number 2, thou shalt invest in learning and mastering the science of money. I built this based on what is said in Proverbs 17:16. Now I'm paraphrasing it. What good is it for a man to have money if he lacks the desire to learn how to master and manage his money?
So I guess I'll kick it off. I think learning is so fundamental to growing economic power because I've always said you can't dwell on the past necessarily, but the past informs our decisions for the future. And so one of the other channels that I have besides Urban Finance is called Black Books Animated, where I read Black authors and do reviews of their book, especially books that are focused on economic empowerment. Because I think the past generation either did not necessarily have access to the same tools or access to the same knowledge that we have today. Because of the availability of knowledge today, there's absolutely no excuse for us. And it makes it very easy to invest in learning and invest in the science of money.
Yeah, I'll just co-sign that again. What that means to me is financial literacy. Like you have to be able to speak the language of money. You have to understand what an asset is, right? So important that we understand what an asset is, what a liability is. It's a language. The rich people understand the language. We need to understand the language. People that are successful study, they go to school, they read books. You have to educate yourself consistently. Even if you're out of school, you have to understand the language of money. So that's what that means to me, Brother Minister. So I'm once again 100% on board with it.
I say cash, asset cash, financial education, financial literacy. Absolutely. I love it. I believe in it. I'm learning it. I'm teaching it to my sons. And again, to me, financial literacy needs to start in elementary school. We need financial literacy as bad as we need air to breathe. So it goes back to education.
All right. Okay, number 3, thou shalt practice the 10% solution of pay yourself first.
Yeah,
I'll start off with that one. Go ahead, Adon.
No, you first. You first. Ladies first.
I truly believe in paying your 10% first to God, just giving your tithes first, then giving yourself that 10% and living off of the rest. But again, paying yourself is an investment into your future, is an investment into your education, is an investment into building generational wealth. So yes, absolutely. 10% goes to yourself.
The best investment that anyone can make is investing in yourself. That's the bottom line, right? So anything that gives you more knowledge, more education, makes you healthier, anything that you can invest in yourself, the returns are lifelong. Nobody can take that away, right? All the knowledge that was poured into each and every one of you, the education, like we're up here talking, and it's so much wealth. There's a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experiences. Nobody can take that away. Nobody. So you could basically lose it all. But the knowledge and the experience that you have just means that you can make it back. And not only make it back, you can share it with other people. Share it with people you love. Share it with your family. Share it with everyone. Share it with people that are listening to us right now. It's because of that, because we've invested in ourselves. We've invested in our education. We've invested in our businesses and our everything that makes us who we are. So I wholeheartedly agree. The best investment that you can make is the investment in yourself. And you do that first, right? You do that first. Why? Primarily because if you don't have resources, you won't be able to give. You know, as much as our hearts want to be heavy, the people that make the most impact are the people that have the most resources. And the reason why they have the most resources is because they've invested in themselves. Simple as that.
So I'll say, similar to Queen Tiniki, I'm a fundamental believer that God is the head of my life. And so I firmly believe in giving my tithes to the Lord because he has blessed me more than I can even imagine and even speak to on this call. But paying yourself first is also a principle that is so important for financial literacy and financial empowerment. And one thing that I would say, giving to yourself, paying yourself is a muscle that develops over time. So I always tell people, even if you have to start at $1, $2, developing that muscle that something always goes towards your investment account is where you need to start. It doesn't matter the amount, but you need to start building that muscle of something out of this. What I make goes to me and my future, my children and their future.
And it's interesting, you know, you're talking about self-investment. Legendary motivational speaker Les Brown, he talked about how he invested $7,500 in himself through the tapes, the books, the seminars, etc. His career earnings to date have been about $80 million, which means for every dollar he had put into himself, he's produced at least 10,000. And you can't even get that on Wall Street. Okay. So where are we at? Number 4. Thou shalt create value in the market. And I base this off the story of the master, the servant, and the talents.
Yeah, so I'll jump in real quick. Value is everything, right? So one of the analogies that I tell people is understanding your value is one of the most important things that you could do. So let's say you have a job, whatever job that you may have, someone else is determining your value. That's what they pay you, right? But understand business, understand how the model works. Whatever job that you have, name an employee, whatever they're paying you, you're worth at least 4 times as much to that employer that's paying you. You know, because if your value was equal to what they were paying you, the business model wouldn't work. They would lose money because they have to pay taxes, insurance, everything else. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to understand what your value is. So if you're, from my position, I was a CPA, and you know the firm that I was working with was paying me a nice 6-figure salary, but I had to realize that I'm worth about 4 times to what they're paying me, and how I can tap into that value is understanding what the service that they're providing and understanding how I can provide the same service to others. And that's when I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. So the lesson in that is really understanding your value and how you can interpolate and transpose that value to really cash in to make it come true in your own personal life.
So I know we're low on time, so I'll make this super quick. Our ability to create value for others will probably determine the size of the check that we make.
I say our value is providing a solution to the problems. When there's a problem and you provide a solution, you're creating great value.
Okay.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Yo, yeah. We'll end with number 5. That means they got to buy the book. They gotta buy the book. The book is called The Gospel of Afronomics Theology. I really think he gives a great baseline, along with some other classics like Amos Wilson's classics and some of the other books that A. Donahue and Khaden have talked about. But I do think that it gives a really great economic blueprint. So hit the one on cultural tithing, and we'll leave with that.
Fast forward a little bit. Okay.
Right.
Thou shalt practice cultural tithing. Now, Reverend, when I say this, you should be getting 2 tithe checks from every member starting next Sunday after this. Okay, since you AME, you should be getting 2 tithe checks from every member.
You're a funny guy. I'll let somebody else start, though.
Anybody?
Oh, look. Put into number one, your community is you, right? So what that means for me is the same investment that you make into yourself. The next thing is to put it into your community. Why is it important? Very simple. Your children, when they grow up, the community that you build, that's what the community that your children are going to grow up in, right? So I want to make sure that the world in which legacy grows up in is not going to, have people that's going to, it's going to be good and evil, whatever it is, but it's not going to be on a large scale where we have people that can't eat. We have people that can't get educated. We have people that don't have access to resources, people that can't start businesses, people that can't just feed themselves, quite simply. So, an investment in your time, your resources into the community pays tremendous dividends.
Absolutely, giving back into your community. One thing that I did when I had my sons, I was determined to find them a Black doctor for their pediatrician and a Black doctor to take care of their skin, and a Black dentist. I wanted them to see someone in our community that looked like them, that gave back to our people. So investing into your community, giving back, empowering, supporting other businesses in the Black community is empowering everyone.
One of the things, for all the civil rights that we have right now, I think one of the reasons why police brutality is still such a thing to the degree it is in the Black community is because there's little fear of repercussions for when they victimize Black people. They may think that the Jewish community have lawyers that if they know that if they come after them, they're going to sue. The white community, their companies have lawyers, so they know if they come after them, they're going to sue. The Black community, they can come after them, and there's very little we can do a lot of times, especially in our most impoverished community. And so for us to make life better for our children, we need to improve the situation for our community. I can be a decamillionaire, but that does not necessarily make it any better for my child who's walking out in the street to not get killed by a police officer because of the color of his skin, because they do not fear the repercussion economically the Black community can give. And so for us to change that, we need to change our community. And the only way to change our community is to practice cultural tithing.
Wow. I'm glad that you were last and I didn't have to answer that. You brought that home, brother. You're right. I do fervently believe that without repercussions, things won't change. I fervently believe that without repercussions, things won't change. But we're talking about building and furthering our economic empowerment. And this all ties together. Each one of you left some really great jewels along the way. We know that success leaves clues, and very successful, highly successful, write books and leave manuscripts. So we want you to leave one last thought towards building and furthering our economic empowerment. And as you do that, talk about your entity as well. Let's start with A. Donahue Baker. One last thought on building and furthering economic say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I tell people right now that one of the things that we really have to realize as we come out of COVID, we're seeing assets increase in value. So I am a firm believer of building wealth. And I just think that, where there's opportunities to acquire assets that pay you, please pursue that, hold on to them with a long-term perspective, a long-term mindset. And if you, the more that I think that we're heading to a point right now as we come out of COVID, that there's going to be some real difficulties ahead for a lot. And whenever there's difficulties, the flip side of that, the yin and the yang, there's opportunities on the other side of difficulties. So I want all of us to be vigilant and look for these opportunities. And once again, our institution, Money Ave, is really about providing access to capital for all folks, providing ways in which people can not only acquire income-producing assets, but also start businesses. So that's the foundation, and it's been an honor to be a part of this panel and engage with each and every one of you. So just want to say thank you.
Ashe. Amen. Hey, Sister Riddick, DIY my credit system. One last jewel.
Basically, you have the power to do your own credit yourself. We provide you the tools, the knowledge. We provide you the tutorial to make you the expert, just making you and empowering you to do things yourself. The great thing about doing your credit repair yourself, it is knowledge and education that you can hold a lifetime, that you can pass along for generations. When you understand credit and learn how to fix it and do it yourself, no one can take that knowledge away from you. So thank you for the opportunity, and I was honored to be on this panel with such phenomenal kings. Thank you, Seko. Always great seeing all of you guys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Brother Khaden, man, last words and talk about what you have going on with the urban finance.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity again, Seko. I would say success takes sacrifice, and usually to the degree that we're willing to sacrifice is usually the degree of success we're going to have. And you're going to choose if you're going to sacrifice now or sacrifice later in your life. I just want to say thank you, Seko, to everyone. I just want to promote someone else as part of paying cultural tithing. I forgot the exact word, but I'll use tithing. Okay. And it's Zwede Hewitt. He has this company that he is starting. It's called Luhu. It's a technology-based company, and it is doing things similar to both like Uber and Airbnb combined. He is a Black man from Trinidad and Tobago. I will be having him on my show. I'm doing the interview with him Thursday, and we'll probably present it after that. But it's so important to continue to build and promote Black businesses, Black business owners.
Ashe. And you got that Trini connection there too, right?
Yeah, Trini to the bone.
Got you. Hey, Minister Zumbi, man. Look, brother, your 10 GOAT commandments were instrumental. We got through 1 through 5. I know that, I've highlighted your book tonight. Give some last words.
Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to have this roundtable with everyone. I'll say this. Economic liberation is a process in progress. Be vigilant in how we get into that economic liberation, but don't beat yourself up over it because you're not moving fast enough. All of us are overcoming our ignorance in this, so we have to be compassionate with ourselves so we can be an asset to future generations of African people.
This show was brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes. We do tax resolution. We lend private money and debt consolidation. So if you need some of these services, we're waiting here for you. Credit fixes, tax resolutions, private money, and debt consolidation. Make sure you call Positive Vibes Incorporated.